Welcome back to the Sacred Heart University studios for CT Sports. Now, all season long, we've been asking Sean Patrick Bowley to come in and join us, the editor of Game Time CT, to go over all the high school football scene. He's been kind enough to come in and drop some knowledge with us. And here you are again. We've had the you're looking more arrested, by the way. Did you get any sleep yesterday?
I got a lot. I was in a coma on Sunday.
Sunday's a day of rest.
There you go. Well, and even Sean rested. So, all right. So we had the big championship game Saturday.
Yep.
Things kind of went as a lot of people had planned, I think, right?
Yeah, it was exciting. There was moments, but I think the top two teams won.
Let's start from the bottom. Let's start with Class S.
Class S was a tremendous football game between Rocky Hill and Ansonia.
Probably the best game of the day. I mean, we were wondering how Ansonia would do against a Rocky Hill team that was their big moment, their first time in the state final. You had Joe Catania, you had Grant Nieves, and they took it to Ansonia early. I mean, you had Catania rushing for a 93-yard touchdown run. There he is right there on a short run. And Ansonia, though, they kept plugging away. And here's Markel Dobbs running for a 67-yard run or thereabouts. So it was nip and tuck a little bit early, but Rocky Hill held serve for the most part for 3 quarters. And then Ansonia started, a lot of mistakes that Ansonia started to make early in the game. They started to make all the plays late in the game. And Coach Tom Brockett had said that at no point did he really feel like they were really going to lose the game, and his players came through for him. An awesome effort by their quarterback, Bryson Cafaro, who was just diving for balls, throwing it. He completed 2 passes, but they were both big strikes, and Ansonia pulls out their 20th state championship.
Yeah, 20th, and people talk about Coach Tom Brockett's winning percentage now.
It's off the charts. He's lost 10 games since he's been at Ansonia in 10 years.
Yeah,
it's 11 seasons now.
Do you think it was a question of their experience, knowing what it takes? They had lost a tough game to Bloomfield a year ago in that spot in the final.
This was a whole new cast, though. It was really...
Well, Cafaro was there.
I mean, it was just a matter of maybe some of the seniors stepping up and kind of showing them the way. I mean, here's some of the mistakes they made early on. A lot of the team, they had been there. They knew what to expect, and they knew they had to pick each other up, even though you had a few mistakes here and there from Ansonia. And then they just started making all the plays. I just thought Ansonia... they were just determined this time. They were determined not to lose again.
And I think with that culture they have there,
it's unbelievable.
I mean, the culture is that you have to win, and I think that means something. I think that it's not good enough to get to the game. It's you got to win that thing, and they expect to do that. And they just seem to have athlete after athlete. I mean, every time you look up, there's another athlete making a play for Ansonia.
And the crowd for both sides was fantastic.
Yeah. So the question now, Sean, is that Ansonia comes in at I think number 7 in the final Game Time CT poll with people from around the state voting. Number 7, here they are undefeated, and I know people are going to argue with me, and there they are celebrating, and all they care about.
That's all they care about.
All they care
That's
about.
That's all I would care about.
Is that state championship.
Right.
But 7 seems low to me, considering they didn't lose a game. They beat everyone who came along, and really, with the exception of Rocky Hill, they blew everybody out.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get your guys from Ansonia really wanting them to get high in the poll. But the fact of the matter is, to me, that it wasn't a great NVL season. The teams in there
was down.
A lot of teams were down. Wolcott was pretty good. Seymour was decent, but they blew all those teams out. Yeah, it wasn't really good. Class S was a pretty strong. Considering it was a little bit stronger in Class S, I thought Rocky Hill was certainly a formidable opponent, but they had ripped through those. I personally had the last two, Hill House and Ansonia, at number 9 and number 10, respectively. Ansonia at number 9. I just thought the upper level teams were so much better this year than usually in seasons past, where we might have voted Ansonia 13-0 number 1.
Well,
but that's just my opinion.
Let's go to Class M and talk about Hill House, because they took control against St. Joe's. Especially, they got down early, and then their speed, their athleticism really kind of kicked in that game, and they just controlled, especially the second half against St. Joe's.
Yeah, St. Joe was right in the game with them. There's Jaden Shern scoring on a touchdown. He had 3 touchdowns on the day, and it was pretty nip and tuck. And this is Chase Kinsley returning a kickoff. He was an amazing player, and he had quietly had a great season, maybe even an all-state caliber season for Hill House. And here he is returning a kickoff for a touchdown. And it was like the one guy they didn't want to touch the ball on kickoffs, and they kicked it right to him. So.
Don't kick it to number 11.
Yeah,
don't kick it to number 11.
Coach Joe Yelzak, who I just saw tonight, said we shouldn't have kicked it to him, but that's the way it was. But St. Joseph had a 21-20 lead, and it was just all Hill House. And it's like, yeah, they do what they did in their previous state playoff games. They just kind of wore you down with the offensive line and just awesome running by. Here's Matt Breon with like a 50-yard run to kind of break it open. Their speed and their athleticism just kind of really won the day over. And then there's also David Harris scooting around and making plays for the Academics. A really, really great state championship win. There he is, David Harris, bouncing off tackles.
Great story, too, that Hill House in the first year of the new Bowen Field gets 2 home playoff games and then goes on to win the state championship.
Great for Reggie. Lytle, who had won a state championship there, and he dealt with a lot of adversity with the team. And like you said, they didn't have their home field for the last few years, and one of their players had shot earlier in the season, at least survived. It's hard. You see a lot of city programs really struggle, but Hill House is able to overcome all that and win a state title that nobody really ever thought they were going to win. So an amazing job. He might be up there for Coach of the Year.
All right, moving on to Class L, and New Canaan's there every year. They were trying for a 4th straight title on Saturday, and Windsor, a team. This is the classic North versus South matchup, 2 powerhouses, and it was that sophisticated passing offense that we're seeing here from New Canaan. I think that just was a little bit too much, along with the timely running game for the Rams that got them the victory, don't you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. New Canaan is just so well coached. I mean, Lou Marinelli has done this so many times. It's like 7 out of the last 8 years or whatever it is. They're so well coached. They're so well. You cannot make any mistakes against them. And, their kids just perform when the bright lights are on. I mean, Ryan O'Connell showed what an awesome player, all-state player he is in that game. He was all over the field. You had a Graham Braden running for touchdowns. The offensive line, defensive line were firing out. Windsor's got a lot of skill players. It took a disciplined effort by New Canaan, no mistakes, none of that stuff for them to pull out this victory. And they kind of just pulled away in that second half. They contained Pinnock. They contained T.J. Gardner. T.J. Gardner, who actually just today committed to Boston
BC,
College.
right. Yeah. His only offer, and he didn't get it until last week
against Middletown. Yeah.
So let's talk for a second about New Canaan's Lou Marinelli, because with that win, he puts himself into some pretty elite company, right? Tying Ed McCarthy for most wins in Connecticut football coaching history, right?
Yeah.
There's a caveat coming here.
TBA, he might be still one behind. The state record book has it at 331 for the all-time state record, which he did. He has 331 now. We went back and looked at some of the stories we did on Ed McCarthy when he retired, and we said 332. Now, the state record book isn't
like... You can't believe everything you read.
Yeah, well, listen, the state record book isn't like... It's done by a bunch of our colleagues, and they might have gotten it wrong. We were pretty sure about that number back then. It doesn't... Listen, he's come back next year. He's going to break the record.
Well, and it's only he doesn't even care.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
he's just like, me and Eddie, I should retire right now. So Eddie and I
That's what I was going to bring up. He kind of brought that up. He's not ready to retire, although some coaches are. And I don't know if we'll get a chance to talk about that today. But as we move over to Class L, when you talk about New Canaan, then the next step is to talk about Darien because, again, they go undefeated, and they're the state's #1 team in Class L state champs. They just reload every year.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. All day to throw for Brian Peters, the quarterback, and then getting it to Finlay Collins. But the story of the day here was the defense, and there's Tim Herget, who had an amazing day. He had 2 pickoffs with Richfield trying to score. He had one in the end zone, one at the 12-yard line, and there he is catching a touchdown pass right before the half. And he also caught another amazing touchdown pass in the third. The story of the day was the Darien defense. They're a fearsome force in front, defensive front with Andrew Stuber, Quinn Fay, Cord Fox, and it was just an amazing. They had 8 sacks. Fay had 4 sacks. Richfield, they moved the ball, but when crunch time came, Garrett Darien was there for an answer. They were on the goal line again. They got sacked twice. And I missed a field goal.
I think that's important that you point that out because Richfield had done such a great job in in the previous weeks in the playoffs and during the season of throwing the ball.
Yeah.
And here they go, because we all talk about Darienne's offense, and that defense was phenomenal.
Yeah, they couldn't run the ball. They tried Shane Palmer, who was amazing all year, could not run the ball. So they tried to pass, and they because Drew Fowler is such a great quarterback, they were able to move the ball a little bit. But when it came down to when they needed to score, they couldn't do it. And there's Tim Herget basically putting the capper on it. Actually, Nick Green with the interception return, we'll probably see that in a couple seconds, put the capper on it. An amazing effort by them, going back-to-back undefeated seasons, 25 straight wins. It was kind of a trying season. We didn't know how many of these guys would be able to do it all over again. They only had like 6 guys back. And, again, number 1 team in the state. No one can argue with that. I don't think.
Can they make it 3 in a row?
Someone asked me that.
Who's coming in?
We were up at this. I was just up helping the coaches pick all state, going through all the votes and making sure everything was cool. And
You're the accounting firm. Huh?
Yeah, no. Well, I was there with Ned Griffin from the New London Day. We were sitting in on their vote counting. And someone asked me if they could do it again, and I'm like, well, I wouldn't put it past them. I don't know who else is returning. They had some young kids, but it would be an amazing effort for them to do it again. I think New Canaan might be creeping up. They played a lot of young kids this year. Yeah. I think they'll be creeping up on Darien. They're going to finally break that streak at some point that Darien has on them on Thanksgiving. So.
Well, listen, we appreciate you coming in as much as you have, and I'm sure the viewers do too. And again, Game Time CT, the most comprehensive website for high school sports in the state.
Thank you.
Great job. And thanks for tuning in. We spent a lot of time on the high school football, and we're glad we did. Glad you joined us. Have a great night.